The year is 2021. Joe Biden woke up briefly to attend his presidential inauguration. WB released their long-awaited Snyder cut of the Justice League, and we were all locked indoors looking for a new game to play to occupy all this free time we had. One game that made a bit of noise in the community is Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl. It was a party brawler that drew inspiration from Super Smash Bros. The difference is that this game starred beloved characters from Nickelodeon's rich history of shows that ranged from the early days to the modern times. Sadly, that game released to poor reviews. Many gamers claimed this gameplay had a decent foundation, but it lacked content and general quality of life things such as voice acting. This turned Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl into the joke of the week for the internet. It also didn't help that this game was released around the same time as WB's Multiverses, which at the time was receiving praise until it too ultimately crashed and burned. Now the dev team behind this game had two options. They could tuck their head between their tails and just run and give up, or they could take the feedback from the community and make the proper adjustments. They chose the latter, and Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2 is an example of what happens when you don't take things personally and you use your failures to fuel your growth. Before we dive further into my thoughts on Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2, quick disclaimer: the following video is not a full review. These are just some of my first impressions. My opinion over time could change, so feel free to take everything I say with a grain of salt. And with that disclaimer out of the way, here's what you need to know before you install Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2. Nick All-Stars 2 is a platform brawler available on PC, PS5, PS4, all the Xboxes, and Nintendo Switch, with crossplay to complement it all. It features 25 characters at launch, 14 are old and 11 are new. The cast spans across several generations with names such as SpongeBob, Azula, and Garfield headlining the game. I'm sure many of you are wondering what's the difference between this and the last game, and that's a fair question considering it's barely been 2 years since we saw Nick All-Stars 1. Well, the first major change is the new influx of content. Unlike the first game, Nick All-Stars 2 features a single-player campaign with a full-blown story and voice acting. The campaign is a roguelike that rewards players with unlocking new characters. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you have to play the game to unlock some of the characters instead of just pulling out your wallet and buying them. A concept that is sadly rare this day and age. And seeing as it is a roguelite, note if you lose, your progress doesn't carry over and you have to restart the campaign. Now normally I'm not a big fan of this genre, but this game's campaign isn't hard, so it's no biggie. It exists more to ease you into the game's new mechanics. The campaign also features mini games, a new arcade mode, boss rush, and more, so if online isn't your thing, I am confident in saying you will find something that you'll enjoy in the single player. As for the gameplay, this is without a doubt a Smash clone. Not an exact clone, but honestly, it's one of the closest that I've seen to Smash. Like, it's not floaty like the Multiverses game, but it's not exactly Smash Bros either, with a slight difference in the flow to combat, especially with the dodge rolls and the edge guarding. Off rip, I noticed you can get destroyed on a level's edge if you don't play smart due to the hitboxes being more generous than Smash. I managed to test most of the roster, and what I love about this game is that most of the characters feel unique. That largely stems from the fact that this game does a great job of paying homage to each character. A lot of characters' moves and quips are something you would have seen or heard in one of their shows. My favorite character at the moment is April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles. First move I did with her is her little backflip camera flash move, and I said to myself, oh, she's basically Zero Suit Samus, but I quickly found out, not really. See, she has the ability to summon a camera that she can kick forward, and if an enemy stands close to the camera, it drains their health, so she has some really cool setups for combos combining agility and projectiles. Now, there are some characters that obviously draw inspiration from others, such as Reptar, that's clearly Bowser, and Azula plays a little bit like Captain Falcon, but regardless, these characters feel like they draw inspiration, but I wouldn't call them flat out clones because they have their own flair. One mechanic that's new to the game is the slime mechanic. This is dope because not only does it pay homage to Nickelodeon's slime era, but it also alters the gameplay. During the matches, you have a slime meter, and slime can be used to affect combat in several different ways. With slime, you can buff your special moves, you can cancel attacks for combo setups, you can cancel momentum if you get launched, and the max meter allows you to do an ultimate move. Spending time in the tutorial and the practice mode is a must, especially because this game probably has the deepest practice mode that I've ever seen for a platform brawler. I mean, it's no Street Fighter or Tekken, but it is something akin to it, and you have to respect it. As for the online, we all know that's a big component to fighting games. The online experience is usually the difference between a fighting game failing or succeeding, so I'm sure you're wondering, how does Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2 run online? Well, I'm happy to report it runs great. Not only does this game sport crossplay out of the box, but it also sports rollback netcode. I've spent a good bit of time online and I have not run into any laggy matches. This game runs buttery smooth. Just be prepared for what comes with that though, because people, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, people are sweating on this game, and I'm talking about day one, they were sweating. So by the time you watch this video, they're gonna be even better. Now that doesn't mean it's all sunshine and farts. I do have some issues with this game, but if I'm being honest, it's just me nitpicking. My first issue is the custom controls are too limited. I'm playing on PC with an Xbox controller, and by default, you jump with the Y button. I'm pretty sure on PlayStation it'd be triangle. I'm personally not a fan of this. I tried to switch it up and use the analog stick to jump, but the game doesn't allow it, and it's a weird design choice considering you can jump using up on the D-pad, and your smash attacks are tied to the right analog stick, so it was more than possible. I would have preferred the option to just jump with the analog stick. Eventually, I was able to adapt to the button, so I'm not tripping too hard, but it would be nice to see a patch that includes more options for the controls, because I would like to be able to use the analog stick to jump. My second minor critique is the roster is a bit strange. This game is called Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2, but for some reason, the roster features Grandma and Gerald, but not Hey Arnold. If you're gonna put a show in the game, I think you should at least start with the show star, and this is coming from someone who loved Gerald and Hey Arnold. Like, they put Reptar in the game, but not Tommy Pickles. What is that about? Do the developers not know?
A baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do.
They could have easily done a Pokemon trainer type character where you control all the babies, or an ice climber character with Phil and Lil. I'm sure more characters will be added via DLC, but y'all know I'm broke. I ain't trying to pay for all that. And that's all the negative I really have to say about the game. It's nothing too crazy. Nick All-Stars 2 is a solid package. Some might argue this is the game that should have released back in 2021 with the first game, but I think they did more than enough with the new story mode. There's new characters, training features, and the slime mechanics to warrant the 2 on the package. I like the game. I like the game. I like the game. So do what you will with that information. And if you're looking for information on another quality game I covered, click the card to the right, which will take you to my before you install on Super Mario Wonder. It's a great platformer that dropped for the Nintendo Switch that I think should not be slept on by you. But just in case that doesn't tickle your fancy, I know you remember me earlier briefly mentioning how another Smash clone called Multiverses flopped. I made a video explaining why that game flopped. So do me a favor and just click the card to the left of the screen to find out why Multiverses crashed and burned.